we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado. This is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
Welcome back, y'all. Episode 160 of Discussion Combustion. This one's really burning on the line.
And it was burning on the line because it was hot. We talked about a lot of great subjects tonight with Brandy from Kitcaster and also the hosted podcast.
That's right, guys. We got into some really deep stuff. We talked a little bit of professional wrestling.
We also talked about breaking down barriers with personal conversations.
We got a little bit wild with a mysterious door that may or may not lead to Union Station.
And you know the long, time-old tale of us talking about getting away from the screens. We cover it all on this week's episode. Please sit back
and enjoy the show. I just, I fell in love with podcasting simply because I was tired of the scripted kind of late night talk shows, and there was a value to listening or watching people sitting around a table like we're doing and just sharing great experiences, sharing ideas and information, that real feel like almost like a Thanksgiving meal kind of, conversation. That's where I first got into it. I'm like, I like the idea behind this. It's authentic, it's real, and you're capturing people doing real things when we live in a time where things are also very filtered, fake, scripted. So I think that's kind of what separates. And you hear a lot of people now, like, I don't listen to radio anymore. I get in my car, I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I 100% agree with you. I think that podcasting it kind of eliminates all of the other noise, and you get to really find out who the person is versus a version of the person that somebody is preparing for with their notes and, their team that's prepping them. They get to just kind of let their guard down and be loose. So I always think, like, for me, my favorite activity is eavesdropping.
Okay.
No matter where I'm at. I'm at the airport,
right.
I'm listening to conversations. I'm at the coffee shop, I'm listening to conversations. And it's kind of creepy.
Okay, I'm happy you could admit that.
Yeah, I can even call it out, right? Yeah. It's kind of creepy. But podcasts, it's like I'm allowed to be a creep.
True.
I'm listening to some really intimate conversations, but it's okay, it's acceptable.
Well, I feel like you're not the only person that has that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've been with a lot of people that they're always like I'll be talking to them, it's like dinner, I'm like, hey, sweetie, blah, 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 and they're
like, are you listening to that?
They thought they caught some drama, some juicy material from the other side of the room or something. Yeah. So don't feel too guilty about that.
I don't feel guilty at all.
Oh, that's good.
No, I'm owning it. I mean, we used to have these neighbors, or I live in a neighborhood. The houses are like right next to each other. We had a neighbor that had parties all the time, and so I would like peel the curtain and just like watch the scene unfold. My husband and I would like lay in bed, and our babies would be sleeping, and we'd be like, pretending like we're at the party and like joining in the conversation. It was our source of entertainment. So I'm a voyeur, and podcasts just allow me to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're prying into, not necessarily people's personal lives as much as they want to offer up, right? So kind of that same idea of, looking through the curtains and living vicariously through the party next door.
Yeah.
I think that is what's cool about podcasting is, if somebody's maybe sitting in a hotel room and feeling lonely and they're drinking a couple cold Bud Lights or something, they feel like they're hanging out with us. That's
totally.
the demographic I like.
Yeah.
And the audience that it captures is bringing that in. It's a little bit different than a lot of other forms of entertainment, I feel like.
100%. Yeah, and it's long form storytelling, and there's a certain aspect to it. And I've listened to your show and a lot of the guests that you've had on, and you can definitely tell that there's a point in which they start to settle in, and things just open wide up. I mean, it's just like talking to a friend, right? You're sharing your secrets, maybe some vulnerabilities that you wouldn't otherwise share.
That's so true.
In any other medium.
It's so true. And I feel very fortunate that we're able to talk to people and have them feel comfortable. And a compliment coming from you like that is, we really appreciate that because you're a vet, We have you are the owner or the head of Kitcaster?
Yeah, the co-founder.
Co-founder.
Yeah,
okay.
Myself and Ryan Estes. He was a podcaster in Denver for quite some time. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a major talented person who has seen it all. And how many podcasts, because you had us on hosted, but did you say you had like 6 other ones underneath your belt?
Yeah, so we don't have other podcasts for under Kitcaster, but what we do is we work with clients and we put them on podcasts. So we're basically a conduit between people who have an interesting story to tell and podcast hosts who are looking for a particular type of guest. So we're like matchmakers in that sense.
A little bit of like a liaison. If someone's like, hey, I got a story to tell, where can I go tell it? You're like, hey, we got some opportunities for you. That's what you guys do.
Yep, absolutely. And we work mostly with B2B businesses. So founders, C-suite executives, people who have kind of been there, done that, and have some expertise to share. Or maybe they have, they're solving a problem that nobody's quite solved for before. And it might involve a little bit more explanation. Podcasts are also really great for that. I always joke because I've always kind of been at least like adjacent to tech companies, whether working with their marketing teams, PR teams, and we used to have to write all these white papers that just explain some sort of technology. And I'm like, that's terrible. Who wants to read like 50 pages of an explanation of a technology? But if you could have a conversation with somebody who's knowledgeable, asking you the right questions, that's better than any white paper that you could ever possibly write.
That's true.
Yeah.
It is so true. I mean, it's needed, and I mean, we get a slew of junk email and like, you know, guests from over here, but anything from Kitcaster, we're gonna take a look at those opportunities, you know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, filling the seat, and we're so happy that to have you here and sitting in the studio with us, because we get so many Zoom calls, which are excellent and open up the door for great opportunities, but it's just a different feel having somebody in-house. So I guess our criteria would be that we would like to have somebody that's local in Colorado and have them come into studio.
Typically, that's how we operate, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of opportunities to do so. Zoom is a great thing, but one of the things we like to promote around here is the AIS, which is ass and seat, right? We talk about AIS a couple of times, and because it's this demographic that we have. Like, our show was great that we did on Zoom with you. It's so much fun. And in fact, Art was in Jamaica. We Zoomed last week.
Yeah.
Right? It still works, right? It's such a great resource to have, but there's something about feeling the energy, you know, tapping on the table, you know, making eye contact. That's the realness that we try to capture in podcasting.
Yeah, and you've seen both sides, right?
Yes.
Since when the pandemic hit, you didn't take a break, right?
We did.
You did take a break.
We took 7. Well, and here's the situation. I think a lot of our listeners know this, but our old studio we recorded in our good friend Jamie's basement.
That's right. We talked about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And out of respect for his home, right, not knowing the situation, early March, April 2020, we took about 8 weeks off. I mean, we shut the operation down because we didn't know what was going on. It was very weird.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were missing such a big part of your identity?
Yeah, and just and we had just gone video. We had spent all this money on this equipment and the cameras and the lights, and COVID hit, and we had to shut it all down.
That was the right and respectful thing to do at the time, you know, and because, look, everyone was scared at that point in time. We didn't.
Nobody knew what was what.
Yeah, we didn't know. And so we just tried to do the right thing, but then we came back with a vengeance, and we do the, you know, CQC. I know we talked about it on your stuff, but like that's, and I'm just going to speak to this as far as if any listener out there wants to see success in their life, the main thing is like you have to be consistent. Like you have to. It's not like, I don't like for like diets, for example. Like, I'm going to go on a diet. Well, that sounds temporary to me.
It is,
like, you need a lifestyle change and to commit yourself until you die to that lifestyle change and fully commit. And I know that big commitment it could be daunting. Like, it's a lot, you know, but I feel like that's what has helped us is we literally show up every week. I was in Jamaica and, you know, still showed up. Like, I brought my laptop. I made sure I bought the expensive internet out there that day so I could make sure I could stream the video okay. And
it's the commitment,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just life, right? And I was actually just talking to somebody about this today, but you have to rewire the way that you operate if you want to change something. Just like you mentioned, dieting, that is temporary, but are you going to make a complete lifestyle change and then stick to it? And it's very easy to get off of it. Once you stop and you're like, like that kind of felt good. I don't know. We don't really need to do that, do we? And then you just fall back to your old habits.
It's true.
So just staying consistent is really important.
And it can be difficult.
Done that.
It can be difficult for a lot of individuals, including myself. There's things that come up, and the mind wants to talk you out of things. We talk about the 5-second rule. I think we might even talk about that on your program. The mind will try to talk you out of a commitment or a decision within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
If you feel like, oh, should I go do this? You have that 5-second decision to commit to it. Otherwise, the mind's going to be like, nope, back out, pull out, find an excuse to shut it down. That's where, we encourage a lot around here to say, if you have an idea and you feel right out of your gut to run with it, commit, go do it immediately.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You say the 5-second thing. There is an author, and I cannot remember her name, but I want to say it's Robin.
I'm pretty sure that's where.
Is that right? And it's like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like,
yes.
boom.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one because I was listening to motivational stuff, and I like to do that at least, like two to 4 days out of a month. Just put on some Motiversity on YouTube or whatever, and I was listening to a whole compilation of all the greatest speakers, and it was Robin who had that talk, and she changed my life.
Yeah.
When she mentioned that, and I mean, how crucial was that? I mean, I've done so many things that I would have talked myself out of due to that rule.
And it seems so simple. I actually saw her live. She was giving a keynote
really?
talk. Yeah.
Where was this at?
It was at a conference in Boston. It was probably 6 years ago. But it like the concept is so, I mean, she told her story, her like very personal story. I mean, she was depressed and just had a hard time just like getting her, like putting her 2 feet out of bed in the morning. And then just one day she was like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm up.
Go.
Epic.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that just seems so simple, but it's really all you need because it is that 5 seconds that makes your mind move to something different.
It's true. And we're constantly being pulled in so many different directions with advertising, with your phone dinging, with going to work, with whatever. It's so easy to get distracted from that. And so the 5-second rule does make sense. We're just, as human beings, our focus can get pulled in so many different directions. And I struggle with that. We all do with the social media, with things going off, with all that stuff. So it's good to put all that down and focus on the now.
Yeah.
Being here and in the now,
Yeah. Yeah, I've been really trying hard because I think we all get in the habit. Like nobody wants to sit idle. We have such a problem with just sitting with ourselves. Like we want to be busy. We want to be looking at our phone, scrolling through our social feed,
Where's
doing
the dopamine
something.
hit? Yeah.
Where's your dopamine hit? Listening to a podcast. Like there always needs to be a distraction. And I run and my headphones broke just the other day.
Bummer.
And it was a bummer, and I was really pissed about it. And I like shoved them in my pocket, and I was like, fuck, am I going to go back home? Like, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And I was like, nope, you're going to go. And it was actually the best thing. I had not ran in silence in so long. And
Epic.
it was great. It was like meditative. I was like, this was awesome. This was the best thing that could have happened to me today.
That's awesome.
My headphones breaking. But just trying to like reprogram yourself to not feel like you always have to be looking for a distraction.
So true. It's so true. And we encourage that frequently on the show is just like have a moment with yourself and just really like absorb your own self and allow yourself to get to know yourself, because when you're constantly feeding your brain and trying to get dopamine and all this stuff and maybe you don't realize that's what's happening, but you're like chasing this hit of dopamine on TikTok, like it's 20-second intervals, like it's so, and so we're like, the brain is getting trained to have a short attention span, but then also need an input. And then once people jump off of those mediums, it's a little depressing, because then they start thinking about, oh, well, what if I could just look at something? And, it's so toxic. And I've found so much happiness within myself and being with myself fully without a TV screen on, without any sort of input. And I do a lot of walking. I walk regularly, and I was listening to a lot of music when I started. And sure, I had some moments where I got goosebumps and like really felt that energy in that moment. But when I go walking without any headphones and I can hear my feet, you know, hitting the ground and the birds and kind of maybe the breeze hits the leaves a little bit, like those are also really beautiful moments of, I would say, even more serenity than I had when I had music in.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're all capable of creating dopamine without any external input. We can do it internally.
Yeah, we just have to reprogram ourselves.
It's tough to do. I mean, again, like everything we just talked about, it's a commitment. You know, you really have to get in touch with, do I want to, you know, disconnect from all that stuff? Because I constantly have to remind myself when I get in my car or, you know, when I get home, I'm not going to just pick up the phone and scroll social media. You know, I know you and I do a pretty good job of that. We'll catch ourselves like, no, why are we doing that? It's almost like a muscle memory.
It is.
Right?
It totally is. Yeah. It's just your go-to. I mean, I find myself, there was a while that I would wake up in the morning and that's the first thing that I would do.
Yeah.
I would literally like roll over and scroll mindlessly.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no point to it. I'm not looking for anything in particular. It just was like one of those things that just became habitual.
Mm-hmm.
So just like, you kind of have to just force yourself to stop. Did you check out completely when you went to Jamaica?
Completely.
I mean,
I
minus the podcast recording.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought I thought it was like a club or like a band or something. I was like,
Like a
what was
restaurant.
completely?
You're like, who's completely?
Yeah, I was like,
That's
who is
awesome.
completely?
I guess we're changing
But,
subjects
no,
now.
I did really check out. I left my phone in airplane mode for the first couple days.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I was like, all right, you know, I'm here. I own a production company with somebody who works extremely hard. And I wanted to give you credit really quick, Kevin, because how hard you work, it makes me work harder. And I feel like we feed off each other with that. So I started doing some networking out there, and I brought stickers. And so the problem was, because I just want to get the story and post it on Instagram and then put Instagram down.
Yeah.
But due to the how everything was going out there, like it was not syncing up and posting correctly. So I would make an epic video. Like I did this whole tour of my favorite spots of the entire resort. And lo and behold, like they didn't post for a whole day, and then they posted in the wrong order.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, I look like I don't know what I'm doing on social media at all the whole time I'm out there. But I'm okay with that because we just got to send it. But yes, I did disconnect. I wasn't trying to scroll. I watched some movies on HBO a couple times and just relaxed in the room because it was very humid. It was only like 75, 80 degrees, but so humid that I just needed that AC. I mean, the trip out there was so phenomenal. I could talk about all these little things. I'll talk about one of my favorite things really quick though, since we're on it.
Yes,
since
please.
we're on it. So the bioluminescent plankton, right? So like it's
I'm imagining
it's
glowing.
and I could show you a picture. But this bioluminescent plankton is in this one lagoon in Jamaica, and it reacts to friction and movement. So when you're moving, it's this beautiful blue glow that happens. And so we paid for that excursion. It was a nighttime excursion, and I'm just going to show you a solo shot. So this is me swimming.
Wow, it's like a rave.
It's very vibrant.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
that's beautiful.
You move your arms around.
Pretty cool. Hold that up to the guest cam so folks can take a look at that.
Here, let me hit this camera, that one, and then I'm gonna cut you short there. But yeah,
look at that.
So you're swimming in it, and it was just so cool. and the guy, he's like, ladies, gentlemen, talking in the Jamaican accent, which I can't replicate. But if you go in naked, women, this is gonna take 10 years off of your appearance, and men, this is gonna help you develop an entire inch. So they're like encouraging people to skinny dip, basically.
They're encouraging people to do nudity off the
yeah,
boat.
Yeah, and oh man, it was that moment. Like it was just so cool to like dive into the water because I like cannonballed off of the side of this
and
boat.
Immediately it just lit up.
And I closed my eyes, but it's just like blue, like, and that was
cool.
that was a lifetime experience, because I've seen this bioluminescent plankton on like Discovery Channel and Natural Geographic, things like that, where it's like you could see it crashing with the waves. But this big lagoon in Jamaica, fresh water meets seawater there, and then there's no sharks in that lagoon, and so it's like just this. They say it's like the best place in the world to experience, and where you could actually swim in it, opposed to just walking on a beach or something. So that I'll say that was one of my favorite memories there, and I won't go on a tangent of all the things, you know. Because,
it's so exciting when you get back from vacay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you've traveled to some cool places. Where's your favorite place you've been?
Oh, goodness. Well, I actually haven't traveled a ton, to be honest. I may have mentioned this on Hosted, but I grew up on a turkey farm. So we didn't really travel much. That was really hard to get somebody
a lot of work to do back at the farm.
Watch your turkeys while you're away, you know. And then I got married really young and started having a family. So I went to France 6 years ago, and that was incredible. And that was like the first big trip I had ever taken. I've been a lot of places in the States. I really love California. Joshua Tree is pretty incredible. I went there for the first time last year. The redwoods are beautiful. We just took the family to the beach a couple weeks ago in Malibu, which is amazing, gorgeous. It was like way more beautiful than I had anticipated. I guess I wasn't thinking. I mean, the mountains there are actually amazing.
They're pretty massive, yeah.
They're massive.
The Sierra Nevadas, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was really breathtaking. So I'm all about travel, and I think there will come a time in my life where that it becomes a reality a little bit more. So I'm going to have to get some tips. So Jamaica's on my list for sure.
I was pretty jealous, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
He was in Jamaica, you know. I'm sitting here drinking beer, doing the work back at home, but that's the way it goes.
Posting videos like, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
That's what, you know, look, everybody works hard, and it's good to reward yourself with a good vacay.
Yeah,
like you
absolutely.
said, you went to France a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I've never been to Europe.
You haven't been to Europe?
Nope, that's on my list, though. I really want to go there. I've only been to Mexico. That's probably the most, you know, exotic place I've been. I don't even know if I consider that exotic, but Cozumel, Playa del Carmen, Progreso, great areas. A lot of fun.
You'd recommend all of the above?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to bite the bullet and take the long journey to New Zealand.
Ooh,
like that's kind of like on my
it's been on my list.
Bucket list of places.
Australia in general, I really like their culture down there. I like the way they, you know, the shrimp on the barbie, and I like their vibes. I think Australia would be fun.
Well, they love Americans, is what I hear too.
They like country music.
Do they really?
They love American country music.
Interesting. Like classic country, or all of it.
From what I've heard, I got some buddies down in Melbourne and Sydney, and they're like, man, they get down on some country down there.
And you sing, right?
I do sing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you took your guitar, your cowboy hat, and some boots.
Got the boots right here. I haven't thrown those up in a while.
I mean,
the clog hoppers here, throw them up again.
Oh yeah, let's get them on there.
There you go. There you go.
That seems like a destination that you must go.
Brandy, I think you're right.
I would say so. That's so much fun. So, I had a question. You know how this goes. I got distracted by the clog hoppers.
That'll happen. I don't usually break out the boots because it really can throw everyone's energy off.
In the best possible way.
Yeah, I mean, something like that. You know, good old leather. You know, that's why I love Denver, too, though. Denver's like such a melting pot, right?
Oh.
We got cowboys out here. We got everything. We got good food.
Everything.
This is such a cool city, you know, and it's fun to kind of mingle and see what's going on in Denver.
You can rock just about any style, and people are like, that seems right.
Yeah.
You'll fit in.
Yeah.
You'll fit in. You
Absolutely.
know. Oh, yeah. So one style change that I'm making is I'm going to start wearing like these bracelets, and I got one on my ankle.
Okay.
But it's actually like a mosquito one.
What?
Yeah, so
it's a detractor?
No, for 300 hours.
What?
And I got eaten alive the first night I was there, first night and day that I was there. And then I put this on my ankle, and I didn't get any bites afterwards. Yeah,
wow.
So
what? I've never heard of those.
I took a picture of the package, and so I'm gonna buy some on Amazon and just sport one on the wrist, and sport one on the ankle, and I'm gonna stay bug bite free this summer.
Well, we don't have a terrible mosquito issue here in Denver.
We do not. You need to go to the Midwest.
The Midwest is really bad.
Test it out.
Yeah,
I'm literally just talking about that today.
Go to the Midwest, check out the mosquitoes.
Yeah,
I hear they're excellent.
Check them out. And in Minnesota, the mosquitoes look like hummingbirds.
Oh,
They're
wow.
big.
Just like
They're like
Really?
those biting flies.
yeah, they're vicious. It's terrible. But maybe like that would be the true testament, honestly. Like
I would rock that.
get yourself going with a wrist, ankle, and then head to Minnesota.
That's the true
lakes.
test.
That's the true test.
Same with New England. I'm from New England. So
Yeah.
you go up to the Lakes region of New England, and you test the Skeeter Power. You know, we call them Skeeters back
Skeeter.
there. You know, those things were gnarly.
Yeah.
You know, they were relentless on the Lakes region. So that's the test,
That's
Artie.
the test.
That's the test.
That's
yeah.
what you're doing.
You know, and
It's your next trip.
I mean, I got going on that trip. The travel bug is officially buzzing now, and so like I work for the same company that I have in logistics, which is Traffics, but now I work for the headquarters, which is based out of Milton, Ontario.
Oh.
And I am going to convince them to fly me out there so I could work out there for a week and like hang
Yes.
out.
In Canada, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
I like want to go see things now. I just want to. I want to go.
Traveling's great.
Yeah.
It's addictive, like you were
I
saying.
feel like that's an easy sell. They should definitely want you to come visit.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you?
You're working for the headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Where do your kids want to go most? Do you think? Like, have they ever like listed off anything like?
No.
Yeah.
And I have a teenager now. He doesn't want to
Yeah.
go anywhere but the basement.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah. He's just like,
So like if you come up with like a, hey, let's go do something fun, he's like, well,
No, we were like actually talking about taking a trip to Europe as a family, like big trip. And he was like, I'm just really not interested in that. He just wants to hang out with his friends.
well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you said this is
We've
your
all been
oldest,
there.
I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when I was 15,
that's all we wanted to do, right? Like
Yeah.
going on a trip with your family. Like we, went away a couple weeks ago and he did great, but I could definitely tell like towards the end of the trip, like he was itching. Like he's like, I need to get home.
Yeah.
Yeah. We drove him straight to his girlfriend's house on the way home from the airport because he was just like, I'm dying here. So, they don't really have. They like to go back to see their cousins, but they don't really have like something on their list of destinations. So, it's kind of I have to force them.
I feel like that comes later in life too, because I mean, my parents listen to the show and they're going to agree with me. When I was a kid, I didn't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, in New England, we'd go down to Massachusetts, we'd go to New York.
Would you do Florida?
I not back then we didn't.
No. Yeah.
I never wanted to go anywhere when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't until I moved to Denver after graduating high school that I really got like, wow, there's things out in the world, and really started to realize traveling is fun. So I think that comes as you get older a little bit. But I don't know. These kids now, they're pretty content with their iPads and the video game
Totally.
systems. And I know I sound old. I'm only 33 years old, but I was just
Them
at that
kids
age.
and their
Yeah.
video games, their cell phones. Yeah.
I didn't have social media in high school, right?
Yeah.
I was old enough to say that, and I'm thankful for that because I feel
Yes.
like that would have been catastrophic for me.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I see how I am as an adult. I can't imagine how I would be as a child.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's because it is addictive, and we touch on the listeners like, oh, here we go again on this rant, but it is addictive, and that's why we touch it so often, because it's important to like remind yourself to check yourself. Like you can't just go like look at social media all day every day. Like you said, like you noticed you're waking up and just looking at it, and like, what are you accomplishing with the beginning of, you're starting your day looking at meaningless nonsense? Like, why are we doing this?
Yep.
But getting older, it's true. Like, the values I have now are way different than when I was, 20 years younger at 15. And that's part of living. Looking at adolescence now, I'm kind of like, I try to look at it with like, an eye like, okay, I've been there, like, I know how I was back then, so, you can't hold kids to the same standard,
No. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was exactly the same. So I'm just trying to be like patient with it. You're just like opening up the door, like, where would you like to go
Yeah.
in the world? Oh, nowhere? Okay.
Nothing jumps
Cool.
out, huh?
Nothing. Just nothing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's all right. Yeah.
I mean, to each their own, right? I mean, everyone's going to be a little different, of course. I think growing up again in our generation, it was like Disney World. That was the big trip, or amusement parks, things of that nature were very exciting. But you know, a lot of that didn't involve a whole lot of travel. You know, I mean, obviously Disney World would, but you know, my brother, I remember he went down there for that trip. I was never interested in that. I didn't want to do the Disney World thing. So, because I'm trying to think, like,
just
you know,
not
relating.
Like just hated Mickey.
I don't know
what
if
was your thing?
You know, what was I into when I was a kid? I was into professional wrestling.
Oh my gosh!
I got into the WWE.
I loved professional wrestling.
Loved.
Hulk
Past tense?
Hogan was
Hulk Hogan, you know, rip the Hulkamania.
It was like my all-time favorite. Yeah, I went to a couple.
That's
live
why you
shows.
and John Ekstrom get along so well, huh?
Does he?
John
is he a
Ekstrom is the
fan?
biggest
You don't know?
wrestling fan.
No, I didn't know
you
that.
don't know this? Oh my gosh.
He will go run circles on me as far as his wrestling knowledge.
That is amazing.
We were like, it was like one of our earlier episodes with him.
He got so excited.
Yeah, because Kevin started asking him questions like, "Hey, what? How about this year?" And he just had it in the bank, like he could rattle it off.
He's like, oh yeah, WrestleMania was this year. There was 23,191 in attendance. Stone Cold won the match. I mean, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but John Ekstrom
That's
is legit.
That's how he rips it, huh?
Yeah.
He does.
Wow, that's amazing. I did not know that about John.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I need to get him one of those. Do you remember those like wrestling buddies?
Oh
the stretchy ones?
They weren't stretchy. They were like cloth.
Okay.
And you could like body slam them.
Beat the hell out of them.
Yeah. And you can like, my friend actually bought us one just a couple years ago. They found one on eBay. We need to get John one of those.
John,
he needs
I think John needs one of those.
Who was his favorite guy again? Was it Stone Cold?
No, that's my favorite guy.
Oh, it was The Undertaker.
Was it The Undertaker?
Was it The Undertaker?
I don't know.
Stone Cold was my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like The Rock.
You know what was funny is I just saw, The Rock.
Come on.
The people's eyebrow.
What The Rock?
Professional wrestling used to be so cool, I felt like. You know,
Yes.
in the 90s, the early 2000s. Stone Cold, I got into him. And one of the things I just learned about him, I think it was this morning, I was watching this crazy video on him. His wife at the time, they were both watching this documentary on HBO about some sort of, I don't know if he was a serial killer or a mob boss. He was into some crime. And this was back when Stone Cold was getting into professional wrestling. And she's like, you know what? This guy is Stone Cold. And he was like, you know what? That sounds like a good name for a wrestling.
That's my name.
Ego. And it stuck. And he's like, that's where it stuck. And he brought it to the professional side and it worked. And he just started to play that character. Because that's what, I think a lot of people forget about professional wrestling is it's acting.
Acting.
Yes.
But these guys are still athletes. And they're
are.
making incredible sacrifices to their bodies.
Yes.
100%. Yeah. Have you been to Lucha Libres and Laughs here?
What is that?
It's professional wrestling.
Are we missing out?
You are 100% missing out. Yeah.
How
I'll send you the
often
link.
does this happen?
I believe it happens once a month
Really?
at the Oriental Theater.
And it's good.
It's so fun. Oh,
Okay.
it's so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Professional wrestling.
Yeah.
At the Oriental?
Yes. Yes.
Why haven't I
I've
not known
never-
about this?
And comedy
Okay.
Okay. Maybe I have heard of this.
mixed.
Now that you
So
mentioned the
they
comedy
like
piece.
do a little wrestling and then like a comedian comes and does a little
I think
a little
Tobler might have
thing.
done it.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
No, that's kind of striking. Now
think
that
Tolbert
you
did
talked
it.
about the mix section of it, like, yeah.
It
I mean,
is.
we've heard about it like once before, and then I forgot.
It's a blast. And actually, so we at Kitcaster, we sponsored a night and we brought a couple of the wrestlers into our office and did like a whole like photo shoot interview sort of situation. And they are amazing. You should have them on the show.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we'd be down.
Yeah.
I'd be down to get some local wrestling talent in the building.
I want to go see some wrestling. I haven't seen wrestling since back in New England.
Now,
You
do
know?
you like traditional wrestling as well? Are you a fan of
I don't
like-
know what I'm a fan of anymore, Brandy, because it's been so long. Like, when Stone Cold retired, I lost interest. He's part of the reason why I drink so many of the Steve Lights. He's called them Steve Weisers. He inspired me to be a beer drinker. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I'm just saying he had an influence on me.
Were you a wrestler?
No.
Okay.
I thought I could have been, because I like acting and goofing off and stuff. And my buddies and I, we would wrestle and fuck around, but I never took it seriously.
Yeah, I was never in wrestling, but my dad was the captain of his wrestling team back then, so I know how to. But if I were to go against somebody who does it competitively,
You'd be in trouble.
yeah. But if I'm dealing with somebody who has like they're like, oh yeah, like this, I'll get you on the ground and pin you. Yeah, especially if I weigh more than you, which is likely because I'm a big boy.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe sometime you guys should wrestle it out.
Kevin and
You
I?
know?
You think we should have a
Yeah.
DCPC wrestling
I
match?
think so.
Oh,
Just
stay tuned
see.
to that.
Oiled up only though. Are you okay with that rule, Kevin?
Oiled up?
Yeah, we got to get oily.
That's not
Get
really
all
wrestling, though.
greasy.
I feel like that's just slipping and sliding.
Yeah, that sounds dangerous.
someone's going to catch a fist inadvertently, I feel like, with that.
Mouth guards, we could put on head protection. You know, I don't want to do it, though.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I'm interested in that.
What about like with sumo suits? You know, you could get like
Oh,
those,
the big hubby
the
suits?
inflatables,
Like they
and-
did in The Office? Were you
Yes.
a fan of The Office?
Yes, love The Office. Yes, yep. You can
Yeah, I
do
remember
that.
it was I think it was
Was it
Jim
him?
Halpert going up against Stanley, because Stanley was so, and you could just see Jim's face. He was like, "Oh, I'm fucked."
Filled with fear.
Yeah, yeah. And then Andy Bernard would end up floating out in the lake on that episode.
For hours.
I
He was
love
just
The
going,
Office.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan of The Office, and actually, my 12-year-old son is like a huge fan of The Office.
Oh, really?
And like has been binge watched all seasons multiple times. Was really disappointed when they took it off Netflix.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
on Peacock now,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah, we're not willing to
Give into that?
No, not yet. No,
That's fair.
holding strong.
all these streaming services, like, how many do we need? Like, and
know.
wait, how's Netflix doing? Because I kind of like a
They
month.
were
lost a lot
doing
of subscribers.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they lost a lot of subscribers here in the last 6 to 8 months. You know, it's funny. I just moved into my new place, and I was like, I need to start figuring out, because I'm subscribed to almost every stream service: HBO Max, Paramount Plus, Discovery, right? You name it, I got it. I'm like, I don't even watch any of this stuff. Why am I paying $9.99, $12.99 here per month? That stuff adds up,
It does.
right? So I'm trying to consolidate what I'm watching, but we're just inundated with all these different programs and these streaming platforms, and almost every network now I feel like has a plus, right?
Yeah.
You name the network and put a plus next to it, they got it.
Yep. Yeah, that's how they monetize.
I mean,
wild.
it's a smart decision. I'm not hating on it, but it's tough, because now it's like, oh, if I want. Well, here's the thing that tripped me out the most. I don't know if you're a Yellowstone fan.
I love Yellowstone.
It's probably my favorite show on
Yeah.
TV since The Sopranos.
Great show.
Hands
Okay.
down.
Okay.
And I bought Paramount Plus thinking that I'd have unlimited access to Yellowstone every episode whenever I want.
Not the
No,
case?
not the case. How is that? It's the biggest show on Paramount. They don't have it.
So is it all blocked then? You have to pay an additional fee?
No additional fees. Paramount Plus just flat out doesn't have the Yellowstone access.
Then where is it? On Peacock?
No, it's on Paramount Network cable side.
Cable.
So they don't have it on the streaming service?
Correct.
I'm trying to remember do I watch it on YouTube? Where am I watching it?
You're probably
YouTube
watching it on
TV?
either. Well, let's see, because you said you don't have Peacock, because I know
Don't have
Peacock has the
Peacock.
rights to it, so it has to be Paramount. So you have to be watching it on
Okay.
cable, unless you're getting it bootlegged. But
I feel like maybe we bought a whole season.
maybe you
if
did
that's
that.
possible.
Yeah, I think it is. What do you think of it? It's a good show, huh?
Love the show.
Are you all the way caught up?
I am all the way caught up.
So good. I'm ready for season
So
5.
good.
Am I caught up?
Yeah, you watched it with
Who's-
me.
Do you love Beth? Beth is like my. Do
I
you
mean,
have like
so-
a?
I do love Beth.
Yeah, I got a little crush on Beth. She's an intimidating woman. Like,
So-
you know what I'm saying?
Rip Wheeler.
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and say this. I don't know if I've ever done this on the cast, but I specifically bought the Rip Wheeler sunglasses.
Did you
That's
really?
How much
Oh, you
I
have
love.
them.
That's how much
Oh my
I love
gosh,
Rip
there they
Wheeler.
are.
Because
Yes.
if you're going to be a fan of Yellowstone and Rip Wheeler, who is the man's man of the show,
He is.
you got to have the gold square
Yes,
aviators.
yes, you do, and you need to wear them to New Zealand with your
I
cowboy
will
hat.
wear that with my Martin guitar. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
cool. No, I like that you're into Yellowstone. It's a great show.
It's a great show. It's a fantastic show. Yeah, it's a great
mean,
show.
Yeah, it's so good to like have something that, because that show touches on like deeper moralities, right? It's not just like some surface level like, ridiculousness on MTV or like some meaningless, like there's so many. And I just want to gripe on commercials really quick because I feel like commercials nowadays are just so stupid. Like I watch these commercials and I'm like, who is actually buying because of this advertisement? Like, or is it like that the human, like overall, like we've just lost so much connection with core level thoughts that like this stuff is actually working? And that's like really concerning to me. And like kind of going back to the kiddos and how we grew up, and I know you did as well, without screens in our faces all the time and actually had to go out and live life, like what kind of long-term effects are all the young ones going to deal with from having these type of like screen interactions their whole life,
Yeah.
like, because you're like, I don't have kids, Kevin doesn't have kids. Like what is a mother's thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be I think it's an interesting experiment, honestly, that I don't think we're gonna know what that actually looks like. I mean, I think I saw even just in my own family when we were locked inside and there was really no external socialization, like what that looked like. I will say it was nice for my kids to be able to at least connect with their friends on some level, but then also being able to I just don't think there's any sort of we at least have some awareness, you know, and I think as you get older, you start to have that awareness of okay, this is unhealthy. Kids, they don't have that level of awareness yet, right? So we have to help them out to figure out hey, you know what, totally fine. Technology is great to an extent, but can we, we need to set some boundaries here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to watch even just a group of teenagers in a room together who are sitting on the same couch and they're just looking down at a device. I mean, there is nothing that angers me more than that.
I would agree.
Get off your phones. Put your phones away.
Yeah.
In my car, it's a perfect time to be talking, right? We're driving somewhere. Talk to me. Don't look at your phone. So I think that I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think it's we'll probably see the effects of that in
So
10
how do
years,
we
5 to 10?
curve that? Because if you completely remove it and say
that's unrealistic.
Or
you can't.
Yeah, because then they're going to see all their peers with that technology and feel like they're missing out, right? So
it's also how they're learning too.
Yeah.
In classrooms, they're using Chromebooks. They're connected. So I don't think completely cutting them off is not realistic.
It's not
but
tangible.
it's teaching them even just like we were talking about before, you almost go into a little bit of a depression when you pull yourself away from it. They experience the same thing. It's just kind of watching that. But once you're off of it and you're oh gosh, this actually feels
good.
pretty good.
Well, the thing is that it's most of what they've known, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've grown up with either a tablet or a cell phone or a video game device. And again, I mean, I'm not that old. I'm 33. I did grow up with an N64 and a Super Nintendo. I had all that stuff, but, the screen time was pretty limited. I wanted to be outdoors.
Yeah.
I wanted to be out digging in the dirt.
You had a desire. And to
Right.
be with your friends.
Be with your friends.
Be with them.
And we've kind of
Person.
I don't want to say we've lost touch with that, but to echo your point, which I find very interesting, and I observe this a lot when I go out to eat or just in really any sort of large social gathering, people get together hey, let's hang out. And then everyone's just looking at their device. What is that?
I don't know.
What is that?
It's maddening, but it doesn't just happen in children.
Exactly.
correct.
Have you guys seen somebody on a date before? Two people
All the time.
on dates, and
All the
they're
time.
on their device the entire time?
It
It's
infuriates me.
shocking to me.
No,
Art and I go out for...
You're striking a chord with Kevin right now.
No, because he's seen it.
Are you going to tell him?
Yeah. Well,
Do
I
you
mean,
say something?
not necessarily, but what I do is I make an observation and because we'll get done with the cast sometimes, and Art and I will go grab a bite to eat, and I'm just this is what we were just talking about. And we'll look at the table next to us. It's you can tell it's a young couple. You can kind of get the first date, maybe second date vibes, and all they're doing is this, and they're not talking to each other, and it really upsets me. Because I feel like you're missing out on so much.
I feel like it doesn't just really upset you. It's one of your major pet peeves.
It is.
It
It
gets
is.
to Kevin for sure.
Because you're missing out on life. You're missing out on that experience. You're missing out on what we're doing right now. And having a cool conversation, learning, talking, exchanging ideas, right? Instead, they're just, did you see this funny thing on Twitter that's trending right now? And great, that's talking points for the date. I get all that. But it's not, I don't know.
No, I'm with you 100%. I mean, I kind of going back to the beginning of our discussion, I think that's what is so great about podcasting is that you're having real connection with other human beings. It could be in person or it could be over Zoom. It doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, this definitely feels better.
They're both good.
But you're still connecting. And it's interesting. I've talked to, I actually had a woman on my show, Rodney Evans. She's amazing. But we were talking about people who kind of get the podcasting bug, right? Who are that's a lot of our clients who have been on 80, 90 different podcasts. And we always are we still want to go. We're still good. Like, you're having fun. You're still having fun.
Triple digits.
They're like, yeah, I'm having a blast. And I'm like, what is it? What is it that makes this so fun and makes you want to continue to do this for 3 years? And they're like, it's spontaneous. It's like spontaneity in a time when feels like there's not a lot of it, where you're kind of like doing the same thing every day, and maybe your circle of influence has shrunk in size a bit, but you get to, it's cool because you get to connect with different people, and maybe you have shared opinions, maybe you have different opinions, but you still you're conversating. And I think we're also in a time where people have very different opinions, and it's been very problematic. But I think if we're able to do this, what we're doing right now, I think we would all realize that we kind of all really want the same thing.
So true.
We're not that different. How we get there may look a little different, but at the end of the day, strip all of that nonsense away, everything that you've bought into, and we all want the same thing.
So true.
And if we could just open up dialogue and start to connect with people, I think that we wouldn't feel so alone and different and polarized.
I think that couldn't be better said, honestly. I mean, that pretty much hits every point that I try to drive a lot with what we do. I have a lot of friends that don't agree with me on a lot of things, whether that's politically, whether that's on, whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
You disagree on music, entertainment, likes, things of that nature, just disagreement in general. When you sit down with that person and have that disagreement live action, sure, it can still get heated and people might walk out of the room, but I feel like less often when you have a disagreement with someone live action across the table, maybe sharing a beer or whatever, more times than not, it's like, yeah, I understand what you're saying now. I get your point a little bit better. Rather than the social media piece of it or the keyboard warrior and the texting and the group text and all that stuff's nonsense to me. If you really have a problem or a disagreement, let's talk it out live action.
Yep.
Because you're going to have better results. I mean, almost every time, you know.
And you may not, at the end of the day, you may not agree with, chances are they're not going to change your opinion on something, but you'll at least have a better understanding of where they're coming from.
So true.
And it's just really important, and it's definitely something that's missing. And I feel so fortunate to be able to connect people and facilitate those conversations that on the surface, it may just look as if somebody's like, hey, trying to promote something that they're doing or showcase their expertise, but it goes deeper than that. I mean, every single person that we represent at Kitcaster, they also just are interested in connecting.
It's true.
And going deeper than what they do in their 9 to 5.
Well, I think that's where it all starts, right? Is having that interest to connect and get outside of the box a little bit. You have to want to do that, right? You're not going to force someone into that position.
Yeah.
And podcasting is a great way to do that. And just even local networking events. That's what was cool about working with House of Pod, when they were up and running. We had a lot of fun with them.
Yeah, we met so many people through that.
We met John Ekstrom through that.
Yeah.
I mean, we made some great connections. So it's just making that initiative to go, hey, I want to do something a little bit more than the 9 to 5, like you said. And then once you've already committed to that, now you've opened yourself for all the great possibilities.
I'm a huge believer in interacting with strangers in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I do this by being genuine. First of all, like I won't just say something just to say it. Like I'll say something because I actually mean that. And for example, while I was on Island Time, I saw this dude and he had a really fresh pair of kicks on, aka sneakers. And it matched his shirt, and his outfit was looking on point. And I was like, yo, man, your sneakers are fresh. I like how you're matching it. And he's all like, oh, for sure, man, I appreciate that. This is actually my own clothing brand. And I was like, no way. And then I sat down next to him and just talked to him really quick. And I'll give it a shout out. It's Road to Glory is the name of his apparel company. And I just had a great conversation with him talking about, how'd you get there? And I feel like that is where we can all begin is, don't be afraid to break the ice with somebody and just say something that, because everybody thinks things like you have a guilty pleasure eavesdropping, right? or things like that. So you could potentially eavesdrop on that conversation and maybe it's a fun, happy conversation. and then you go approach them like, hey, I know this, I'm your stranger or whatever, but I overheard this and it really made me smile, and I enjoyed hearing that. And then those people may open up to you tremendously, and then you might make a new friend out of that. You might, get a new business opportunity. So it's just about taking those, and also it comes down to the 5-second rule too, because like, oh, I want to compliment their shoes. But should I, should I compliment their shoes? Like, is that going to be awkward? We start talking ourselves out of it. So, I don't know. I'm going to steal this from Kylie Bierce, like, because...
Great friend of ours.
Yeah, because she had this challenge, or not a challenge, but I'm going to make it into a challenge right now, is just... Next time you have a genuine compliment for a stranger that is not like hella creepy, like, let's have couth and like have some respect for our other individuals on this planet.
Yes.
But when you have an actual genuine compliment, tell that person that. Like, what if they haven't heard a compliment in weeks? And what if that's the first real, like, interaction that they get that is a buildup for their personality or something? So that's this week's challenge is... Let's talk to people, be genuine about it, be positive about it, but create conversations. It's so easy. A conversation doesn't have to be an hour long like this podcast. It could be a 15-second conversation of, oh, I really like how your dress flows with your hair or something. It could be whatever it is, right? And then that will open up something that wasn't there before, for sure.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think I've done that before where I've tried to engage with as many people as possible. And I always I think too, just making eye contact with folks and saying hi.
Yeah.
When you're walking, and smiling, and just little subtle things like that, it can change somebody's day, especially if you don't really know what that other person is experiencing in their life. And but the compliments are really good. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way to not be creepy if I ever do comment on something that I'm eavesdropping on. Like, how can I
to not be creepy?
I feel like you need to
I've
go
been listening to you for about 30 minutes.
Hey,
and
yeah. No, hit us with a pitch right here.
Yeah, what
is it? Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I don't know. Maybe it would be like, hey, I just happened to overhear you, and that vacation sounded fantastic.
You should totally go through with that.
Yeah. I would not. Yeah.
Maybe they would
Where
go home
was
and be
that
like,
place?
let's do it.
Yeah.
No, that's actually a great example. That's where eavesdropping could maybe turn in, because if you're in a public, like a restaurant, or maybe you're at a bar.
We're kind of like all expecting people to be eavesdropping, right?
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
And people like attention.
We've all had it happen before.
People like to have attention.
I would say
Totally.
less than 20% of the time. So 80% success on the eavesdrop situation when either I jump in or someone jumps in with me. 20% of the time, people are like, I don't want to talk to you. And that's all right. Yeah, 2 out of 10,
That's
we'll
okay.
take that.
That seems like a pretty good ratio right there. Yeah. I mean, I've had it happen to me a couple times. I'm like always really, because I do it, I'm always like really self-conscious about how loud I'm talking in a public space. So I always try to keep it down a bit. But there's been times that people have overheard a conversation that I'm having with someone else and they chime in. So, and I'm always like, that's kind of cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Because then they're eavesdropping on your conversation.
Yeah.
And then
like we're saying something that actually matters enough that you want to listen to it.
Yeah. It's so true.
Well, that's what makes you a great podcaster too, right? Because people are listening to your show every week. We've seen the reviews Host has got. I mean, you're doing fantastic. It's a tremendous show. I love how you do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
really
it's good.
Appreciate
it's
it.
good. Yeah,
we
definitely have an
had a
act
blast
for it.
doing that.
It's
it was
fun.
So much fun.
It's fun. I mean, here's the deal. You mentioned this. Podcast hosts are the best guests to have. I mean, you've got the stories. You're comfortable behind a mic. It's been really fun. It's been really fun. You both were great guests. It was fun to have you.
Yeah, it was.
And
a good time.
that's when the haunting happened.
Oh yeah, which hasn't, but it hasn't dropped yet, so we can't really tease that.
I know.
Because we need that to drop on your show.
Can we tease a little? Wait, I'll just ask. Has anything else happened?
I mean, there's always weird things happening. Always. So, for people that are tuning in now, that hopefully you'll listen to the episode on Hosted too, but we were recording. So my office is in a very old historic building in Denver. And there's just always interesting things that happen. I also just get like a weird energy. Now, I don't know about weird. I can just feel.
There's
feel
a presence.
things. I feel things.
I just got goosebumps talking about that.
Yeah, and like weird stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, like the lights will go out. But we were recording, and there was a picture that was hanging on the wall that just literally came flying off the wall, like midway through, and it was not quiet. It was.
Oh, it's
pretty
audible.
loud.
You'll hear it in the app.
It picked up, and I'm keeping it there because it felt like it felt intentional and that it needed to be there.
Well,
I don't know.
It changed the direction of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
We're like, wait, hold on now. I was like, is there a cat in
You
the room?
did.
Like,
You were
what's
like-
going on?
Where'd the cat come from? There's
Yeah.
no cat. It was the ghost. The ghost, and it is House of Pod. So
Is or was?
was. I mean, Kat's still there.
She is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's still her recording studio.
Oh, yeah. No, but like a feline cat.
No, I know. I know. I know you were talking about a pet cat,
Yeah.
not a person cat.
Correct.
Who the
There
person
was-
cat is fantastic.
The person
is.
cat is fantastic.
She is.
We do not
Great energy.
have a feline in the office, but we do have a person named Cat.
Thank you for clarifying that,
Yeah.
Brandy, because
Yeah.
there was some
but
confusion
I did
there.
know what you were talking about at the time, and that was a feline version, not Cat haunting the studio, pounding on the walls. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But the fact remains, there was some paranormal activity taking place
Yeah.
during the episode, and then maybe even beyond.
And so I need to listen. I'm wondering what was said. If there was something that was said.
There was a pivotal moment in the episode. I can't quite remember because it was, I don't know how long ago we recorded.
Yeah.
I believe
Something we were talking about specifically.
We were talking about the hoppies or something.
Yes.
And or like how you transitioned to taking control of the space.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And then that's when it happened.
Which, that is weird.
Yeah.
It was almost like the space was like, wait a second. I wasn't ready for this
It was a
takeover.
realignment of energy. Something along those lines. Who knows? I don't know.
God.
Yeah, it was interesting, but it's a fun building, but there are certainly things that happen in there.
That's Curtis Street, right?
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've been in that building a time or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe 3, I think.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. I mean, I like the look of it. I like the feel of it in there. I know they were doing some remodeling. I don't know if I've been down there since then, but
Yeah, we have a whole new. They did like the big wide open event space is all redone. It's beautiful.
yeah,
It's really beautiful.
we'll have to come cruise down, check it out.
Yeah, and they do music and light shows there
wow.
in the space. I think they took a hiatus for a bit, but I would imagine that they're going to be ramping it back up soon. And then in the basement, there's recording studios.
I didn't even know there was a basement.
Oh yeah,
I got to go into the basement.
That's where it all goes down.
that's the energy.
Oh,
in the
boy.
basement.
So, all right. So I'm kind of getting tingly goosebumps, all this.
Yeah.
So growing up, a youngster, like under 10 or something, I had my family lived in Quincy, Illinois, my auntie and uncle and cousin, and it was like a huge mansion out there. Like this house was very large and like huge attic and massive basement. And this massive basement was not finished. So it was just a bunch of concrete walls. And like you would walk down there, there'd be one big room and then like another room near it, and then like rooms over on this side, and then another room over here where there was a ping pong table, and then there was also other rooms and another section like a wine cellar. Like it was this huge basement. And also at the bottom of the steps was where they kept the freezer with all the sweet treats. And just thinking about it, when I was a kid, like I would want that ice cream, and I would like want to go down there, and it was so dark and creepy down there. And like, or the ping pong ball, we would be playing ping pong, and it would like
just roll
it would like
down the
go
stairs.
Well, because the ping pong table was in the basement, but then we would like hit it, and then it would go into like
into
near
the
the
side
wine
room?
cellar. Yeah, and like it was, I swear that bad things at some point in time occurred in that basement, and that's energies though for you. And I feel like energy, even during this conversation, like your smile is making me smile, Kevin's making me smile, like it's all happening, and energies can stick. And I feel like humans do have a sixth sense of intuition, and it's completely relevant to daily living with the limbic system. And so yeah, I mean, the whole paranormal thing, like I could go off on that and talk about that, but like I almost just want to explore like this basement of the old House of Pod place, because like what kind of energy is down there? Yeah.
Yeah, well, so and this is something that Kat told me, is that there is a door that leads. So it was the building was originally built for the Colorado militia. So there's a door in the basement that goes to Union Station and to the Brown Palace. It's a tunnel.
Oh,
Is that tunnel still in existence?
I don't know, because that door is bolted up like 5-10 times over. So I don't know if it is or not, but that is supposedly what is behind the door.
That's kind of cool.
And I'm highly interested.
I would be
in
too.
Seeing if we could get into that tunnel.
you know, a
sledgehammer would get us in there.
Yeah, or we could just ask the landlord. He's
To
pretty
unbolt
cool.
it?
He
Is
might. He might.
I mean, you said it's bolted, locked up pretty tight.
It's like it's just like deadbolts. Like he could.
Okay.
Yeah, he could easily.
it's not like welded shut.
No, it's not welded shut. So I feel like we could ask, and maybe we do like a paranormal episode.
Almost
that
like
would be so much
like
fun.
a Ghost Hunters.
Yes.
My main
Yes.
concern is tunnel maintenance, and you know, how safe is it down there as far as like the infrastructure potentially collapsing. You
Well,
know?
I guess that we probably get a good look on that once the door was opened.
Yeah.
I just need to get the door open.
Yeah.
So you can really
We
get a
just
live
need to
look.
get it. We need to get a look at it.
I mean, is there any way to like? Is it like a wood door? Can you like see through the
You
cracks,
can't
or is it
see-
just
there's
like?
no way that you could see through any sort of crack.
I'm really curious
Yeah,
about this now. I'm probably
it's
gonna
a
lose sleep
solid
over
door.
this.
You're gonna need to come down.
I'm gonna lose sleep
Yeah.
over this.
I'm gonna be thinking about this tonight.
We're gonna get in the tunnel. That's gonna happen.
And
I
think-
want to come with.
And we film it.
we
get
need a
we'll
large
bring some
party of
lights.
people,
Yeah.
so
No,
we're protected.
Tunnel adventures.
A tunnel crawl.
Yeah, under Denver, like let's walk to Union Station.
Well, yeah, because
underneath the streets.
if it's going from Curtis to where you're at now over to Union Station, that's a pretty
That's a
good. That's
good
I want.
distance,
We need to know
yeah.
what's going
is
on.
that
I mean-
is it like over a mile?
I feel like
Over
it
a
is.
couple, maybe?
If it's not, no, I feel like it's probably close to a mile. But wouldn't it be such a disappointment if the closet was just like a supply?
Oh yeah, you
Like
open it
a-
up. There's like a brim in there.
It's just a closet. It's not a tunnel.
It's like a baseball
Just
bat
kidding.
from 1915.
Well, no. If it was the janitorial closet and it had 5 padlocks on it, of course they went out and bought the freshest mops.
But maybe it's
and
a
like,
secret
it's
door.
like, yeah.
So maybe you get through that
It's a
door,
front.
and then there's another door.
An immovable wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
I don't
stuff's so
know.
interesting. I love the houses with, you know, hidden hallways.
Yes.
And, like, that kind of stuff is so cool. I truly think that's so much fun. But there is one thing that we need to ask you since you're here.
Okay.
And we like to ask all of our guests this question.
Okay.
And so, Kevin, you want to...
Sure, I
Do
can.
the honors.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we like to ask every guest, of course, and Brandy, I'm sure you're going to have a great response to it, is if you could offer humanity one piece of advice that would better everybody tomorrow, what do you think that would be?
Podcasting. Everyone
Podcasting.
should podcast.
Now, do you think they should listen or be podcasters?
I think they should, at the very least, be a guest on podcasts.
It's good advice.
I mean, I just think that, like I said before, just having conversations with people that you wouldn't otherwise have conversations with is very important. We are so good at just talking to our circle of influence. Get outside of your circle of influence and have a conversation with somebody who is, you know, a new person to you. So
It's good advice.
That is good advice.
Really good advice, and podcasting is a great way to do it because you're not necessarily forced, but you're in a position to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Rather than passing somebody on the street that maybe is not having a good day or something. That's good. I like that. You know, the takeaway from that is have good conversations, and podcasting is a great way to do it.
have good just have conversations.
Yeah. Just
with
have 'em.
people with people that you otherwise wouldn't have a
Yep.
conversation with.
I like it.
Yeah.
I do like that too, and it's good to like have deep core level conversations because you can learn a lot about somebody based upon those deeper type of stuff, and not to like get political or and maybe you do get a little political because that's, I guess, kind of the core, or religious, or,
I think you
spiritual
could go,
levels. Yeah.
you go deep on things that could be controversial, but I mean, that's kind of part of having a connection.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. And being respectful, though, through it, too. I had a conversation in Jamaica with some of the people that were out there, and we had contrasting opinions on this subject. And, we ended up having like a 30-minute long conversation about it and agreed to disagree, but still had respect for one another and had a lot of the same talking points that we did agree on as well, too. So, I guess what I'll take from that is that, the world is not as polarized as the media makes it to be.
100%.
Humanity is not as polarized as social media makes it to be. Like you said earlier, like once you have these conversations, like you realize how similar people actually are, even though you thought that you were way different. Mm-hmm. And that's the human connection, and I feel like that's lost through the technology mediums. And actually sitting down and having a real conversation, even if it's a video call, is still going to, or even just a phone call, like where there's no video aspect, you're just talking to somebody and hearing their voice. Like that's so important for people to have that interaction. And I feel like the more that you actually talk to people and have a real conversation with people, that the happier that you're going to be.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's great advice for humanity. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, when you mention what the media is putting out there, and their whole goal is to create conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is the goal of our current media news cycle. And we should feel insulted by that. We should be insulted by the commercials.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's like replicating TikTok feeds, like we should all feel really insulted by the way that we are perceived to really not be able to think or have any sort of creative thought process around what is being shown and given to us. So it's an interesting time, mm-hmm. and it will be interesting to kind of see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I think we're in for quite a ride. I really do. I don't think we've seen the craziest of it yet.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be a really weird next 3 years.
What's crazy is like
buckle up, Cowboys.
10 years ago, we were like, oh, we're strange times we live in. And then it just keeps getting weirder and weirder, and different things are coming up. But yeah, I mean, to your point with the media, it's something I'm not a fan of. I don't like the way that they compete for viewership.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. I mean, it comes
100%.
down who has the most drama that we can put out on our network to get people talking about it. It's nonsense.
My question is, were people in 1930, 1950, were they having these same conversations of wow, things are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Things are pretty
the
terrible.
World's always been crazy.
It has been. It's always been tumultuous. That's
tumultuous.
Tumultuous.
That's a good word. I use that from time to time. That might be the word of the week, actually. But I think the difference is we have too much information now.
We do.
And a lot of it is useless information. I mean, it's good to be educated. I always say that. I used to be a huge news buff. Come home, put on the 5 o'clock news. I want to know what's going on. But it was also very biased. I listened to one source, right? And so depending on who you talk to, I heard this over here, or I read this article over here. And there's just so many different conflicting reports and opinions, and what's real, what's fake. We don't even know anymore. Mm-hmm. Everything can be manufactured.
Yeah, I don't trust
things can be manipulated.
Nowadays, it feels like.
Yeah.
And it's you can't listen to this person or that. It's too unstable, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like take what you can get from it, focus on the weather, sports, right? We know those two are legit.
Speaking of sports, what's the Avs score?
So end of the first period, Tampa Bay is up 1-0.
Okay.
Looks like the second period has begun. So as we jump off the air, we'll see here. I think the Avs are. I think we're okay. I think we're gonna be all right.
Okay. All right. I like the optimism.
We're down 1 goal. We're fine.
I mean, when we crushed 7-0
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. How are you not gonna? Did they swap their goalies out after that? Like, what happened?
So Kemper got pulled in Game 3 in the second period. And, of course, I'm saying we over here. I'm from New England. I'm a Bruins guy. But to be fair, Colorado Avalanche, I am supporting these guys 100% to the Stanley Cup.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of have to, right? It's like your hometown team is always first. And
Absolutely.
then, well, I mean, like your OG hometown team, right? Which is the Bruins.
You bet.
And then your new hometown team is the second.
The Avs,
right?
Yeah. No, I want the Avs. Tampa Bay's done it. They've had theirs. They've had some success.
They had a couple years, right?
It's-
Also, hockey in Florida just seems weird to me.
You know, it's funny. Your brother told me that the other night when he was watching Game 3 with me. He's like, how does Tampa, Florida have a hockey team?
It's so bizarre.
You know, it doesn't get cold enough to even support ice.
That is hilarious. Well, I mean, you know, the Jamaican bobsledding team did it, right?
Oh, good point. That's a good
True.
point.
This is true.
You can,
Yes.
you can do ice sports in a lot of different regions, I suppose, and
Yeah.
different climates. But
We'll allow it.
no, I think the Avs are going to do it. We're going to be fine. Game 5, Denver, Friday night. I think we take it if we
You
win
think so?
tonight.
Okay. All right. Have you been to an Avs game this season?
This is a great story.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Avs are doing amazing things, and there's a lot of great opportunities to be involved. And, yeah, I did see some hockey this year, which was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
You know, I'll keep that tight to the vest. But, yeah, it was cool to be there.
It's not a good. What is the story? You're gonna keep it.
We're gonna hit it off air.
We'll talk that off
hit it
air,
off
for sure.
air.
Okay.
But yeah, good stuff.
I don't know why we have to hit that one off air.
I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just fun to watch. You
I'm
know, it's
excited
so
now.
cool to have the Stanley Cup and have Colorado be a part of it. You know,
Yeah.
it's super cool. So
Anytime that we are kind of killing it
yeah.
in whatever sport, it's fun.
I mean, you see a lot of the bandwagoners. I get it. You know, we've all been guilty of bandwagoning at times. You know,
I'm happy to jump on a bandwagon.
see, that's owning it.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
owning it. You're like, I'll ride that wagon.
yeah, I want to see the parade. I want to celebrate. You know, I want to do the things. I haven't been to an Avs game but one time, but I'm gonna cheer for them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colorado
We're
Ice.
talking about killing it. Kitcaster's killing it. We love all your content, what you're doing.
Thanks.
And we're definitely going to leave all of your links for everything that you want to promote in the show notes. So that will all be in there. And what a pleasure having you on. You know, you had us on your show first, and it was really good to reciprocate the love and sit down and talk with you in person and just hear your story about your family, about some of the things you're achieving. And I've had a great time.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
A lot of fun. Thanks for driving down here to the tech center. I know traffic was a little rough, but
That's all right.
Well worth the drive to sit down and have a good podcast, you know. And let's do it again.
It was awesome. Love to come back.
Yeah, we'll
Thank you
definitely do
both.
it again. We'll be in the wheelhouse, and you'll be on ours for sure. We're in the same business, so
We are.
I'm sure
we
we're gonna
are.
cross paths
and we're
again.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And
Just down the road.
Let's break down that door and see what's in that tunnel.
I know,
We're
we gotta
going
get in there.
We're getting in the tunnel.
What is in there?
Let's do it. We're getting in that tunnel. Another great episode, Brandy Whalen. Check her out. Hosted podcast. Kitcaster doing some amazing things. Like you said, Art, we'll include everything in the show notes down below. So we appreciate everyone's continued support. Be sure to mash that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, we love you to death. You already know, guys. Be good to yourselves.
You deserve it.